Hi, everybody. We're welcoming you to the Purpose People podcast. We're now doing yet another episode, and this time we got someone really special that is really fit in terms of the workouts that she does. Her name is Frankie, and so we're going to find a little bit about personal fitness and living your best life. Frankie.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks you for having me.
Thanks for travelling all the way up to come and see us.
You're very welcome. I'm really pleased to be here.
So just tell us a little bit about what your day job is, or what you do.
My day job varies so much. My first job is what I really should say is I'm a mum, mum of 4. So that really is my main job. However, everything else that I fit around it is to help, in particular, women find their best self in the best possible way. And
so with obviously being a busy mum, is that where a lot of your audience is? Are they similar to your situation?
Yes, predominantly mums. So meeting them at school, meeting at clubs, meeting through social media a lot. I get that there's just many people have followed you throughout our lives, right? And they're finding that they're still following my journey. Yeah. And then tapping on to what I'm offering. Yeah.
So with the fact is you're working with busy mums, so how do they do the workouts with you and get to know you and engage with you? How do you manage their life around being so busy?
So I've recently launched a fitness app. Yep. I like to call it a fitness coaching app because the coaching element around it, it's more than just the workouts. And the idea is to direct them to that so they can fit it in their own time. So they're not trying to schedule in a class at a specific time. They can fit it in their own time. Really short workouts with key information around the fitness, because fitness is one thing, working out is one thing. It's what we do with the rest of our lives, especially as an overwhelmed mum. I think most mums these days are very overwhelmed just with things in general, life, having to keep the kids, having to keep a household. Most mums are working as well. And then to look after themselves as well, that can add extra overwhelm. So it's working around that, making sure that their fitness or health journey isn't adding more overwhelm.
And, one of the things, obviously knowing what you do, your emphasis is essentially on women's fitness, as in being healthy, rather than Instagram, like joining the Instagram generation, like trying to play up to a certain model and type. Would that be a fair representation?
I hope so. I hope that's coming across, because we need to be real in this world. You scroll through Instagram. I did this on the weekend. I had a very emotional weekend, and I was very tempted to post a very ugly photo where I'd been crying all day, because that's where we're at. We're emotional beings, and as mums, we take on so much. But then you sit and you look through Instagram and everyone's perfect, looks beautiful, looks smiley, and life is wonderful, whereas that's not really true. Overwhelm is underpinning most of everything that's going on. And I try to bring that across when I am, although a lot of it is through social media, trying to get the interest up. It's people who know me that are contacting me. And it's because they can see a real journey. Most people know that I've got 4 children and I'm balancing it all on my own and still managing to fit a fitness or health journey.
And I think with the environment that you've got, whereby you got 4 kids and you're doing the fitness, you're living testimony to exactly, if you can do it, other people can. And do it. So how did you get into this whole fitness world and fitness journey?
It's been my whole life. I started training in a gym when I was 14. So throughout my teenage years, I was going to the gym. And then when I finished school, I was kind of like, what do I do? And then decided to become a personal trainer. And for over 20 years, I've been within the industry, teaching classes, personal training, nutrition, just pretty much done everything with that hat on. And then, within it all, having had 4 children.
Wow. So when you talk about health and fitness, how much is it about the actual exercise itself, and how much it is about diet and all the other stuff that goes with it?
Exercise does play a huge role, but it has to be the right exercise for each individual. That's the most important thing. So everything that fits around it is key, because when it comes to getting a result when we're exercising, essentially exercise is an extra stress. So if you've already started with feeling stressed and overwhelmed, I know you're using that word a lot, but it just seems to be a heavy feeling at the moment, especially for women. Excuse me. And then add that load of you've got to go and exercise because you have to lose weight, or you want to lose weight, or you have to get stronger. That in itself is a stress and can actually cause an adverse reaction.
Okay.
So exercise is a key pinning point, but how you do it and everything that's around it is far more important, to the point where you're just better off going off for a nice walk if that's what you enjoy, as opposed to going and doing a spin class or, a really hard session.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to have the opposite effect. And it's teaching that within the coaching videos, that it's about finding the balance and doing what suits the individual mum around what she's doing with the rest of her life, and then learning about food, not what to eat, but how to eat, understand why we eat a certain way, or if you're eating certain foods, how it affects you. So you've actually got a conscious choice on, this is doing this to me, or this, how can I do it so that it's not having the worst effect?
Yeah, because I got a friend of mine, Sue Worrell. She's very big on nutrition, and she says, as much as it is about doing the exercise, whatever, there are certain foods that can, magnify certain conditions. And if you, how do I put it? If you're not aware of that, you're putting your body under undue stress all the time under certain things by eating the wrong things. Therefore, you don't feel so great. So therefore, you don't work out. So you end this cycle.
Absolutely.
You're stuck in it rather than being able to get out there and
Absolutely.
work. So in terms of fitness, obviously personal training, did you play sport? Was there a particular sport that you did, or was it always the gym? Was it?
Well, I grew up in South Africa, so
whereabouts?
In Johannesburg.
Joburg.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was relatively active throughout school.
Yep.
Swimming was one of my big things. I did a lot of swimming, be it at school before school started, and doing swimming.
Yeah.
Athletics, kinda, but you run in the winter in South Africa, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, just general school sports, those things. I'm not very good with ball sports. So yeah, it's just always been just general school stuff. And then I got into the gym, and it's pretty much always been the gym. Yeah,
always been the gym.
Yeah.
What's been your sort of most successful story in terms of gym, taking someone and then taking them on a journey? Have you got any stories there?
I still have people who I trained years ago, and they'll get in contact and they'll say to me, I remember you taught me this, so I'm still doing that. And I'm always blown away by the key bit of information that they've retained. And that's really what I strive to do, is to help an individual get what works for them so that it is a lifestyle. I don't believe in this whole 3-month transformation.
Okay.
Again, that's a lot of pressure.
Straight away from the
3 months is a really short space of time, especially for a mum who's trying to achieve things in her spare time, which is minimal.
Yeah.
It's about taking on key information that they're able to adjust to and do easily, so that they're doing it for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't happen in 3 months. That
No,
doesn't
it's a
necessarily
process.
happen in 6 months. It's not really a transformation, because I've always been relatively fit. I think when I really started to up things 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, because I had more time, and I can see such a transformation. It's taken 2 years to get to the point where I'm at. And I was already relatively fit and in shape. It's not like I had a lot of weight to lose, but I'm able to maintain it even with a busy lifestyle, because 80% of there is just a natural lifestyle. And it's about teaching that.
Yeah, because there's the app Couch to 5K, and some people joke they go from 5K to couch at the end of it. It's just because it's not a habit. It's like this intense workout. We get it done. I've completed it. Tick the box, and then you just fall back into those old habits. So by creating a sense of lifestyle, then it's clearly more sustainable as a point of, this is part of who you are and the family, rather than, I'm going to do this for 3 months, leave me alone, and then we're back to normal afterwards.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I learned when I was working with personal training for a while was movement, and getting the movements right. And there was a big emphasis on the movement rather than the actual exercise itself. Do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yes, the movement. And I even take that step further. It's the mind activation.
Okay.
So I can get you to go and do some squats, which... again,
Please don't.
I prioritize doing resistance training over cardio.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you're going to do cardio, do it because you enjoy it, and you enjoy the feeling of the endorphins afterwards. You enjoy that feeling of your heart rate being up.
Yeah.
And you enjoy going for a run in the woods, or a run or a spin class, whatever it is. Do your cardio, absolutely, if you enjoy it. But if you're looking to get results that are going to last a lifetime, we need to do strength work and resistance work.
Got you. Yeah.
That's the first key. And then it's about engaging the mind through it. If you're just doing things for the sake of doing it, go and do a squat because you're supposed to do a squat, it's not going to be as effective as understanding that's working my bottom, my glutes, my entire legs, my core, because it's a functional move. You're squatting all day long, getting in and out the car, sitting up and down, going to the toilet. There's elements of squats throughout a whole movement pattern. But if we're not engaging the muscles that are meant to be doing the work, they're only working at a slight percentage of what they could do.
Yeah.
So it is about activating that through a workout. So you're doing it all day long.
Yeah, because I mean, that's one of the things I've struggled with. So I used to play loads of football and then I run football teams and stuff like this. And then I've stopped and, you know, got a Peloton bike. Claire loves it. Get on there and do the thing. I still struggle with that solo sport and struggle with the essence of, if I'm chasing after something like a ball, I run and I'm after the ball. But if it's just going for a run, I just get bored.
Yeah, there's a big part of being part of a community, right? Which is why the programs are so effective. You're part of a community. You're starting a program. Everyone's doing it with you. Yeah. You're like-minded. So I'm trying to build a female-based community so they can connect, because it does make a difference between...
It's a really good point.
Getting up in the morning, doing something. I've had one of my ladies comment that it's just lovely. She can do the workout and actually feels like she has me in the room, because my HIIT sessions, I do it with them. So throughout 12 minutes, they're doing the workout with me. And she's like, and then when I'm finding it hard, you're pushing me on. And even though I'm not in the room and she's doing it completely at her own time, just having that little bit of extra person, which I get you probably get with a Peloton bike as well. You've got a teacher, don't you?
Yeah, you get a teacher on video. You see numbers and this on the wall.
It's not quite the same as being part of a team sport.
No,
so
it's not the same.
Yeah.
No. And I think that's, for me, I think community is really important. If you've got a community of mums as well and they're all relating and they're all going through stuff with their kids, then you can relate. So how does the community work? Is that like a Facebook group?
Yes.
Or Okay.
Yes, we're a Facebook group. I have a WhatsApp group as well. Sometimes they interact on there.
Okay.
But yes, the key is to have an area where they can just go and be vulnerable and communicate, ask for help.
Yeah.
Usually I encourage them. If you have a question, ask it. You can ask it directly to me. I will probably answer it collectively, because if it's something that you're asking, somebody else is probably thinking it.
Yeah, so people are vocalizing other people's questions. So when you join, so let's say talk us through a journey. So I'm a female and I want to get involved. How does it work with you? Do they contact you? Do you do a Zoom with them? Just talk us through that process.
Ideally, yes. I quite like people contacting me, because again, it's about finding out what's key for them. Yeah. Because there are so many places to start.
Yeah.
We've got on the app, I'm going to have a complete beginner's workout. Yep. And then I've got 2 HIIT programs on, and then a gym program. So if somebody's working in a gym, they've got something to get on with. Yep. If they're going to be doing it at home, they can do either the beginners or the HIIT sessions. But where I'm really trying to get key focus on is something I'm finding that is not talked about enough, especially for women, and that is pelvic floor and core health.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's where I'm really going to put a lot of energy and try and build up the community, because although it's really common, one, it's not normal, yet we're suffering in silence or in a joking manner. It will laugh about, I sneezed, or don't make me laugh because I'm going to wet myself. And although we can laugh about it, it's really not funny. And there's not enough support within any industry at the moment to help with that. So I recently learned a new program called Hyperpressives. And that's where I really want to put the focus on building in that community, because it's not just about pelvic floor dysfunction in incontinence and having incontinence symptoms, whether it's actual leaking or having urgency and having to plan, women planning their lives. Where's the toilet? It's not just about getting the kids to the toilets themselves. Being prepared, but also things like prolapsing, which is, it's completely disruptive to a woman's life when things like that start happening, and unfortunately it's getting more and more common.
And how does that actually happen? Is that through childbirth? Is that the main cause of it?
Yes. Childbirth being one of the main causes. And although I'm talking about women, it also has its place for men, because although they don't have prolapsing as such, they can still get incontinence and they can still have hernias. But certainly looking at the women that I'm looking to support in terms of overwhelmed mums trying to fit everything in, and then they start thinking, okay, I need to start exercising, and they're going to this class or that class, or worse yet, they're going to hit the road and start running because it's the easiest thing to do, right? I'm just going to get running, and then a few weeks down the line they're like, wow, I've got some serious issues going on. What is going on?
Yeah, of course.
So childbirth or child rearing is definitely one of the huge factors that affects that, but not just that. It can.
Yeah, and what about essentially? There's natural birth, and then what about C-sections? I mean, does that have a knock-on effect as well? Because,
Yeah, so I've had 4 C-sections.
Yeah.
And I was struggling with symptoms that I was aware of them, and I thought, that's really odd. But I shouldn't, right? I'm strong, I'm athletic, I've got relatively good core. Yeah. If I switch everything on, it looks like I've got a 6-pack. Yeah. What's going on? So it's not even just isolated to women who need to lose weight or feel like they're out of shape.
Yeah.
It's affecting the athletic or really active group of people, who, especially women, and those that have their baby, because they're under so much pressure. Have your baby and you should be straight back to your pre-birth weight.
Yeah.
Women are training harder through pregnancy because the pressure is so high. Again, things like social media, we have all these posts of everyone's looking super fit and beautiful through their pregnancy, and then they pop the baby out. You see them again a few weeks later and you're like, wow, she's in the gym already, or she's already running.
Yeah.
The damage that causes is insane. So they might look good quite quickly, but the impact of it internally is so detrimental, and
because
they're not
layers,
spoken about.
Right? So muscles, there's layers. You can have the outside, the outer core looking great, but it's what's going on behind that and behind that again. And I think that's one of the things I learned from a personal trainer. He said, like, my issue was, he said, rock up and play football. And I might have been out on the night out or whatever, just rock up. And as I got older, he'd say, did you start losing your pace a bit? And I'm like, well, yeah, because I'm getting old. He said, okay. Did you work out? No. Said, let me tell you, I bet you get pains in your calves. I said, yeah, loads, and it gets worse. He said, so basically, you've been rocking up, doing whatever, playing, you got older, and you got these muscles that have ended up like this in your calves over a long period of time. So they've all folded over each other. That's where your pace has gone. Not because you got older. He said, because I can massage the muscle on the outside, but he said the real damage is done 4 or 5, muscle groups deeper. And as a result of that, that's what I've got to do. So he taught me the whole, did sports massaging and stuff like that. And I then got that concept of what you see on the outside is not necessarily what's going on.
Absolutely. And that's really key when it comes to something like our true core strength. It's not about strength. It's about having the balance. So we've got so many key muscles within the core, and the ones that are really important are the deep ones that we don't see. So our pelvic floor, our diaphragm, I won't go into all the technical bits, but those two are the ones that get really affected. And just as an example, if someone's got a really good, strong 6-pack, it's actually causing an unbalanced intra-abdominal pressure.
Okay.
They're activated too much, and they're actually affecting their pelvic floor. I've got a chicken in my bag. I forgot to take it out. I'm just thinking, I keep forgetting my chicken, which is a good example. Those soft toy chickens and you squeeze it. Yeah. Think of a strong core through that bit, squeezing tight. It pushes down the pressure onto the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor can't handle that pressure. Right. It's either going to prolapse or cause leakage.
Got you. Yeah,
There's actually videos for things. There's a woman, again, Instagram, there's a reel where she's deadlifting and she's leaving a puddle of urine on the floor while she's doing it. Apparently it's quite common in things like CrossFit because they're under so much pressure, yet their core is actually not working in unison and in an involuntary way relative to the strength that they have for all the external muscles.
Yeah, because we're getting quite technical, but like, for instance, it's common for weightlifters to get piles.
Well, piles is one thing. Hernias again.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about urine incontinence, but there's fecal incontinence too.
Exactly.
And there's no ways people are talking about that.
No, of course. It doesn't look
nice on Instagram. It's hard enough to admit that you've got any form of leaking. You've got that leaking. Who's going to tell you?
Yeah.
So this is like something that we're just not talking about. And I guarantee it's causing such a mental strain that how do you commit to anything? So without talking about it, we know that just talking about any issues already helps. So if other people are talking about it in your community, to be able to voice it and go, well, yeah, I'm leaking, or I've got double leakage from front and back.
Yeah.
These are big things, especially when we're under so much pressure to look a certain way and behave a certain way and keep everything together, whether it's work, life, kids. And then you've got that going on. It's no wonder that people feel incredibly overwhelmed and stressed. And then now you have to go and lose weight as well. That's probably the furthest thing that they need to be worrying about, because you get everything else in place, get rid of some of the overwhelm and that mental pressure, and the weight will probably start falling off naturally.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that I think you're right. When a woman is pregnant, has the child, there's that thing, I want to get back to where I was before I had the child, and there's that external pressure that's put on them. But there's some physical things that need to heal and happen first before you can go full on out. And as you said, in the gym 3 weeks after having a baby, and it's all over the newspaper, it's like as if that's the accepted norm, and it's not actually the truth. So what's interesting is, where we get onto, is you've got a real passion for it. You can see it when you're talking about it. And for me, we're talking about purpose. So it's almost like you found your mission, found your purpose.
I do feel like I have, yes.
Yeah, like to champion these women that are suffering in silence.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's all I want to do, is just give that support to say, one, it's okay to talk about it, and let's find what works for you to be able to get that first starting point of making things feel a bit better.
Yeah.
Whether it's even just the start of hyperpressors is literally just a breathing exercise and learning to breathe a certain way. Even if she's just doing that and being able to give her that chance to do that. I've done so in so many parts of my work, I've done time which feels like it's for free. I won't charge for my time, or I'll do a consultation. I'll try and get them to go away with some nuggets to really start focusing on, because I just want to help them and then get them onto that next best step so they can take the next step for themselves and take ownership of going, hey, this is my body, and what can I do to understand it and be able to work towards any form of strength or stability or balance.
So would you say one of the key things that you do or teach is about strength? Is that quite?
Yeah, because that kind of umbrellas so many parts of our life, really, whether it's physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength.
Yeah.
But equally, we shouldn't feel like we're strong all the time.
Yeah.
Strength should have an equal amount of vulnerability, because if you don't get to the point of being able to show your vulnerability, how do you build upon that to get strong?
Well, I think if you are more authentic and people get to know who you really are in life, then that relationship where you can have your good days or your bad days becomes deeper and stronger as a result.
Yeah.
And I think that was like when we had Bella, our eldest, Claire was going into a environment where natural birth, we thought it was all going to happen. Lastminute.com, we find out that Bella, which is indicative of her personality, by the way, Bella was actually breech. So like last minute breech. Now you've got all these doctors in the environment and they're all talking. And I heard one of them go, I hope it doesn't work as bad as it went yesterday. So I heard that in the room. So now I'm like trying to be strong for Claire, but I've just heard this and I don't think Claire's picked it up. And the joke the joke in the thing was when they were trying to get Claire to push and they said, what do you want to call the baby? Claire got to that point where she just went, epidural. So it's like, she laughs now, but it's like, they just asked her what the name was, trying to be nice. And she's like, epidural. So anyway, long story short, they rushed Claire in and it's an emergency C-section, and Bella had the umbilical cord around her neck. So had she had pushed, it was a really, could have been a really terrible thing. Added to that, when we had Leon, we got our notes and we found out they actually revived Bella.
Wow.
But they didn't tell us. It was in the notes, but they didn't tell us. So I literally had to wake her up and whatever else. But then the fallout of that, then coming back home, was we're now dealing with an emergency operation scenario where Claire's had her stomach pinned flat, now just sliced right through. And, Claire would say, the last thing she wanted to do is do sit-ups.
It's the last thing you should do.
No,
absolutely.
but even when she started to get fit, was that she just couldn't want to do it because it was just like, she said even like many months later, which turned into a year, whatever, it just felt like something's not right in her stomach because of what, they cut right the way through
it.
We had elective with the other two, which was a completely different experience. But the reality is that, that core thing.
She's probably still not at a point where doing sit-ups feels like something is right to do.
Exactly.
There's still days that I go to do some, because I'll still do some sit-ups.
Yeah.
They're minimal. Like if out of my 100% training, I might do 3% doing any form of sit-ups. It's really minimal. But there are days I'll go and do it. It's like, no, it doesn't feel right today.
Yeah.
And that's the key is having a program going, okay, what is my body telling me today? Again, using the mind of being aware of what you're feeling and what feels right, what doesn't, and having the opportunity to change tact and go, okay, what else can I do today? And that's what I love about hyperpressives. It's nothing like that at all. It is challenging.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's the kind of thing that a woman can do. So I get up in the mornings, I just realised I didn't do them this morning. I'll get up in the morning. Right?
Yeah,
I got up really early.
You're forgiven.
I'll get up while the kids are sleeping, have my shower, then do my hyperpressives flow. It takes me 10 minutes whilst they're kind of stirring, and then I'll get dressed. So it's not like your sweaty kind of workout like my HIIT sessions where you'll do your 12 minutes, but then you got to go and have a shower. The hyperpressives, it's very much a mindful flow, but equally it challenges the core, but in a very gentle way, whilst it challenges your upper body strength and stability. And it's very mindful. And it's perfect for a mum who's just had a baby, because again, she can take elements of it where she's just doing what she can.
Yeah.
Even as a C-section, I'd be quite comfortable that once she feels like, okay, but even just the breathing, being able to start with the breath work so that things are starting to wake up and work together. We really do not appreciate how much childbirth takes out of the body or affects the body.
Massively.
We really don't.
And there are days just when I even meditate on that thought, I thank God that I'm a man, because I don't know, just because I don't know how like Claire could do it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously there's this whole thing that kicks into gear, whatever, but it's not so much the event itself, it's the recovery afterwards as well. And as a woman, after you've given birth, the baby's got more demands. The baby wants feeding and wants this. And then there's that pressure. Is it breastfeeding or not? That's a whole nother story.
So many things that tie into it.
But I'll give you an example with us is that Claire got mastitis with Bella. And so, I was being sent to Tesco's at 3:00 in the morning, buying baby lotion and cabbage leaves.
Yes.
And the cabbage leaves are a secret if you ever got that.
In the freezer. Yeah. Absolutely.
And people looking at me strange, like, what is this guy doing?
3 a.m. with a big fat cabbage. He's hungry.
Yeah. But the crazy thing with that particular journey was that the pressure on you've got to breastfeed, and you're a lesser mum if you don't, and it's going to cause your kid problems in the future if you don't. And we got to the point where we just like, does it really matter? Do you love we got to do what's necessary to get us through.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we eventually got formula and we went down that route. And we've been in some situations we're mentioning, they look at us like, and sometimes I just go, you don't have to. I know it's the best in a sense, but if it's causing you that much stress, pain, you know what? Go down the other route. That is an option for you. And we had to deal with constipation and all that sort of stuff because of the different formulas and finding the right one and whatever else. But the point is, on a woman, the demands on her are so high, and we just glib it over. It's not talked about at all.
No,
my mum, for example, she had 3 boys. The last one was a monster. He's not a monster, but he was huge. And go back to you joking, everywhere we used to travel from Essex to Bristol, and the running joke was, how many times are we going to stop?
For mum.
Yeah. And my brother invented this thing where he would review toilets to keep himself occupied on the journey, because that's how many times
and you have to make it
stop.
a joke, right? Let's make it a joking thing and laughing, just like when you watch any advert that's got to do with tenor ladies or these apparently sexy looking knickers. It's done in a joking manner.
Yeah.
It's not funny.
No.
It's not funny.
No, it's a
Why should we have
major
to give
issue.
birth and then have to have that? It's
Yeah.
not funny. There's no funniness about it whatsoever. And that's the whole point, is where is that support?
Yeah.
Where is that support without we're standing collectively and we're learning that it's okay to have a choice regardless of what you do with your journey, through your childbirth, through raising your children, your babies when they first come, because it's all such a big learning from one child to another even, right? The other two were nothing like the first.
Exactly.
The first pregnancy. And then what you choose to do with your body. But where is that collective, it's okay, regardless of what you're doing. And there is help out there for some basic things, and acceptance that some things are not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay to be in the gym 6 weeks later doing as much as you did before you were pregnant.
No.
Or it's not okay to be 5 years down the line or 6 months down the line or 20 years down the line, because once you hit menopause, then you've got that whole new range of issues. It's not okay.
So they go down that route, right? So that's another. So you get through this whole
childbearing
age and dealing with the emotions and stuff, whatever.
And then menopause hits you,
and
boom.
Menopause hit you. And so like with Claire, because Claire's mum went through menopause really early. So Claire's gone through that journey almost. She's, I would say, the last sort of symptom
Claire doesn't
at the
mind you
moment.
sharing all these information.
We talk about it. It's fine.
But it's a good point, right?
the
We should
hot
be
and cold
open about
sweats.
it. We should be open about it.
But for her, like, it's that hot and cold thing. She'll like get so hot, like immediately, and then go back to normal or whatever. And you drive in the car, and a minute she's like, put the windows down or whatever else. Like, what's going on here? But what
we need a toilet. We need a toilet soon. Yeah.
But the point of it is like we almost like guys, I guess, are quite ignorant of it. They're just like, oh well, and then you look at just the amount of change a female goes through for the reward of childbirth, but how a body changes continually and constantly.
Yeah.
It's just underplayed.
But it is underplayed. But equally so are men's changes. I think men go through a lot of changes as well, and through a lot of issues that are not spoken about.
Yeah.
So it is an equal thing, and that's maybe where we're at. It's just about being more vulnerable and talking more about what's going on, because incontinence in men is rising.
Okay.
It's absolutely rising, and it's definitely not documented. That is not being spoken about.
Yeah.
Issues for men is hernias it being so common, which are going to potentially bring just as much problems mentally, but again, not being spoken about, because men don't, at least women kind of talk about things a little bit more, whereas men don't. But yes, the body ultimately is it's incredible and can do so many incredible things if you look after it right.
And that's what I found out with my football, is that the reason why you ended up with, and occasionally now I still get pain in the calves or whatever, the reason I get it is because I need to roll.
You're not cooling down, you're not doing the remedial stuff. Exactly.
And I learned that so one of my friends, was a professional coach, and they said we put a lot of time in the warm down. Now, as an amateur, didn't know anything about warm downs. It's like the warm down is get in the car and drive home and meet your mates, you know, and
having a beer.
Yeah, exactly. And so basically you're damaging your body through poor education. I think one of the key things is what you're doing is you're bringing education to the fore, saying this is how your body works. As a female, these are the things that you need to look out for. These are the exercises that can make the biggest impact and difference, which is an amazing thing that you're doing. And you have that huge empathy piece with women going through a similar journey, because you have literally with 4 children and that journey to help them bounce back in a way that's really good and really strong. Or
gently ease back, because that's the point. We feel like we have to bounce back and just be back on the ball and doing everything and spinning all the plates and doing everything that we're supposed to be doing. And we're so programmed that it's about calorie counting or deficit, loads of cardio, loads of time, and just get in and doing it as hard as possible, where that's furthest from the truth. It's about easing and gently, eating a way of eating and balancing it without having to change your whole lifestyle. Often I'll be working with them and they're like, okay, so this is all for me. What shall I do for the kids? I'm like, just lead by example.
Yeah.
And if you're leading by example, the kids will just naturally fit into it. So even just by calorie counting, right? You wouldn't calorie count for your kids. You wouldn't sit there weighing your food and going, this is how much I've got to eat. This is how many calories I'm going to have to eat today. You're going to go with what you need to function through the day and do it intuitively and feed them nutritious, healthy food.
Mm-hmm.
It should be just the same for them, even if it's for weight loss, even if it's for building muscle and getting stronger or getting lean. It's really about setting that example for themselves. Same thing with, we try not to put our kids under too much stress because we know how bad stress is for ourselves. So if you're going to go and do 2-hour workout or go for a 10K run because you know it's going to burn 500 to 1,000 calories, if that's going to put you under stress, you wouldn't do that to your kids. What would you do it for you? So it really is about doing things in a manner where you're nurturing yourself, and the rest fits into place.
What I like about what you said is, the whole bounce back thing is that it's about sustainability. And I think that whole intense pressure to bounce back is you replicate that in your kids as well. So they see those behaviors and then they mimic those behaviors thinking that's the acceptable standard.
Absolutely.
So if you're conforming to that pressure, you've got to change in 12 weeks. Children growing up, their bodies are changing and whatever else. And then now they feel, I've got to do my 12-week, 18-week hit to get to be a certain look and whatever.
Absolutely.
One of the things I find really interesting is my eldest daughter. She's very much... she's almost said, I don't want to be like that. Just come to that conclusion that the amount of pressure people are under. So even when she goes shopping, she'd rather go to a secondhand shop.
Love that.
Than a fashion thing.
Absolutely.
Because she said, I just want to buy clothes I like.
Yeah.
And she said, when I go into a shop, let's say, a retail that we're used to, there's a certain look and she's tall. So, it's like she'd just rather be left alone and find what works and what fits or whatever, rather than being bombarded with all these images.
Thinks on how we're supposed to look.
So into how you're supposed to look. And I think that's one thing the compare and contrast between a second-hand shop and, like a charity shop versus you don't get all those pictures. You don't get all those images. You just go in there and it's just nicely decorated.
Find what you like and what fits you nicely. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
And I think I use this analogy in my book is that it's not about finding clothes that, has to be a certain size. Fit is the most important thing. And I don't think in fashion that's taught at all. Because you could wear a certain size of clothes and it fits and it looks a certain way. So it's all about fit. So like, for instance, I'm a guy, if I go to H&M and try and buy a 32 waist trouser, I come out thinking, I am huge. I'm a walrus. I'm an elephant because it just doesn't fit. Yeah, I could go to another store and try and fit and it fits.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And it's that so that's for me, that helped me educate that a 32 isn't a 32, a size 10 isn't a size 10.
Absolutely.
And shop with fit rather than size.
Which is the same thing with weight. So I don't, anybody who's following a program of mine, please get rid of the scales.
Wow.
Unless you're going on holiday and you need to weigh your luggage, binum. And if you are going to weigh yourself, please don't do it in front of your children.
Okay.
But ideally, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because weight, same thing, right? My weight could look completely different on me than it does somebody else.
Correct. Yeah.
Then there's the fact that muscle weighs far more than fat does.
100%.
So if you're really toned, you're going to look slimmer.
Yeah.
You're stronger, you're better, you're healthier, you're burning more, your metabolism's naturally higher, but you could be quite heavy. So that psychological effect of, I feel good today, stand on the scales, but I'm heavier than I was 4 weeks ago. I'm obviously really fat. It's been so programmed into us that we should be a certain weight, like we do with size. Great, I'm an extra small today. And then you go put an extra small in another shop, you're like, that doesn't actually go over my thighs.
Exactly.
And what that does to, and I see people on social media actually putting their weight in. And I'll read that and I'll because I work in kilograms, having grown up in South Africa, and I'll go away and I'll calculate in kilograms. I'm like, yikes, what do I look like in comparison to her? Because I'm huge because of the actual number of weight. But it doesn't give you any substance in terms of how you actually look.
Exactly. And you know, for me, so the other thing I struggle with, it's only been, I would say, the last 6 months, is wheats. And maybe, I don't know if I'm gluten intolerant, whatever, but I've noticed bloating. Now, my mum gets that. She's a lot older, obviously. And so I can see that if I don't get a steer on it or get a handle on what works and what that, she struggles with it. And I've noticed that with me. So I get bloated and I'm like, I just feel like it takes me 2 days to get over, and, sometimes on the podcast, I want to put a cushion over me. But
that'd be quite nice, actually. Why are you saying that now?
but that's the reality, is that you can talk about these things because you go, oh, well, he's put on a bit, and it's like,
oh, yeah, a piece of bread.
Yeah. But you don't know that. We don't discuss these things, as you said.
Or somebody else might not even see it, right?
Yeah.
Or probably you feel that way, but it doesn't look like you're bloated at all. But because that's how you feel, you just naturally feel that way. Like I'll wake up in the morning, look amazing. Same thing, have something to eat during the day, and I look 6 months pregnant by the end of the day.
There you go.
But that's our bodies.
Yeah.
And again, down to the whole pressure of you shouldn't have to necessarily look a certain way. How do you feel?
Yeah.
Don't worry about how you look. Focus on how you feel.
Yeah.
And go with that. And then it's understanding, what have I had today? Okay, if I feel rubbish at the end of the day, what have I had? And what can I potentially look at removing or changing up? So I've learned a different way of eating where you eat your fiber first in any meal. So same thing, I worry about being gluten intolerant, haven't quite worked out what bloats me.
Yep.
Still haven't worked it out. But by changing what I've eaten, how I eat, not what I eat, and having the fiber first, and then having the starchy carbohydrates, there's less bloating. So the next time you have a meal, if you're going to have a sandwich, have some salad first and see if that happens as much as it has been. So again, and then it's looking at the individual going, okay, so what are you having? What are you having a lot of?
Yeah.
What can we change up? Whereas if you, a lot of standard programs will give you an actual diet plan and this is what you eat.
Yeah.
You might not like those foods. You might not be able to eat those foods. You might, again, huge overwhelm when you've got this whole new list of foods to eat, meals to cook. And you're like, I can barely get through the day as it is, let alone learn another 6 new meals.
With 4 kids and everything else and whatever else.
Exactly.
So I think for me, they're really important conversations around, that perception out there in the world in terms of how we fit, how we feel, how we interact, the external pressures, and having people like yourself bring in, let me educate you. Let me show you what's really going on. Let me help you that you are unique. You're going to look different. Your shape is this, that, and the other. And as a result of that, let's find what works for you. And I think for me, that's really, really, really cool. Frankie, it's been great. I know we could go on and talk more. And I'm
amazing. We've gone on for so long. Thank you.
and we'll definitely carry on. How do people get in touch with you and find out more about what you do?
So you can find me on Instagram, frankie.fitnessapp. I've got my landing page or website, again, frankie.fitness. But yeah, hopefully we can put some details in underneath as well.
Yeah. You can find you on and maybe connect with you on Facebook as well.
Absolutely, Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah.
And we'll put all that information.
Details, absolutely.
We'll put all that information on the website.
And what I always like to say is ask questions.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people get scared to ask questions because you feel like I'm showing interest and I'm going to get sold to. I don't sell. I just share. So if it's about asking a good chunk of questions to feel like that's the right step for their uniqueness. I love that word because everyone's unique and everybody has to feel like they're getting what suits them. It has to resonate with you. Otherwise, you're not going to take part. You're not going to do it. So ask the questions because it might not be for you. I might not be for you. But ask and don't feel like, if I ask a question, she's going to expect me to sign on. Not at all. For
me, it's been great. I know a lot more in terms of about you and the way that you interact with people. So I'm going to be saying, go and ask Frankie because, that's a really good thing that you can point someone to has got the information, the knowledge and the background and you live in it. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Great.